Generative AI is everywhere and is set to change the world as we know it, with new tools coming out all the time to make amazing things, like generating a picture from a simple prompt or making a video from an image. Wow, doesn't that look good?
I bet you couldn't even tell that this voice was I generated.
And we're starting to see the tools available for game development to speed up that pesky chore of creating fun and unique games, and instead just recycle old games into an algorithmically designed output. Because as we know, computers are better than humans at this kind of thing. So let's explore some of the tools available today and see how helpful they truly are. Alongside every other company jumping on the AI bandwagon, Unity has a new tool called Unity Muse, your game development companion, right there in the editor to help you with all of your tasks. Muse has a few features currently available, with more on the way. The first feature we'll look at is the chat function, which works just like every other AI chatbot. So if it's anything like my experience with ChatGPT, this is going to be rather painful. So I'm going to start by asking it a simple programming question. So how do I rotate to face the mouse? Okay, it's musing. Oh, okay. So it does break down how the logic works and then gives you some code. Not too bad. Apart from some weird wording, it's done a decent job at writing the code. Unsurprisingly, as AI struggles to be consistent with things, the first example it gave me used slurp and smoothly rotated to the mouse, but the second one simply sets the rotation. This isn't exactly a negative, it's just weird that it changed its mind without me telling it to. But if we go into Unity, I'll add this to a simple shape and run the game so you can see it does rotate to the mouse. So if you're a beginner that didn't know how to do this, well, you still don't actually know how to do it, but the code is there. And that's one of my biggest issues with the whole AI generated answer problem. People that are learning how to make games won't actually know how to make them. They won't understand the code if they're just copying and pasting whatever the chatbot spits out. So when it comes to fixing something or expanding their code with new features, the only option will be to see if the chatbot can do that. But as features get more complex with more moving parts, if it breaks one thing to fix another, it'll just get them nowhere. So let's get it to rewrite the code to slowly rotate the mouse. And there we go, that actually works. The nice part about this tool is it's referencing Unity's own posts and gives you links to them to read over. And the breakdown of the feature is quite nice, so I have to give them props for that at least. So we can rotate to face the mouse. Now let's add some movement in there too. AI, make me a script to move around the screen. Okay, and again, to be fair to Muse, it's done a pretty decent job at writing a simple script that does move the player around, with this one setting its position directly, which again could stump a beginner as they might want to use physics and collisions, which won't work too nicely with this method. It also uses Unity's old input system, so there's a good chance it could reference deprecated features that have been replaced in newer versions. Okay, so it can generate code, but what else can it do? Well, our player is just a cube, but luckily for us, Muse can generate 2D sprites in our game. So let's check that out. So this is done in-engine with the Muse sprite package. So go ahead and install that real quick. And once that's done, here's what the window looks like. You've got your settings on the left-hand side, like the prompt, how many images you want to generate, any negatives to the prompt, and then some settings to develop a style to keep it consistent. But for this example, I'm just going to let it go by itself. The first sprite I want is a space marine from the side. So let's see what we get. And here is where any sort of quality or usability goes completely out the window. AI cannot generate good looking images, and it's like an alien has drawn what it thinks things look like. From a distance that you can see that all of these space marines have the expected outline, vaguely got the colors right, but as soon as you zoom in, this becomes an absolute mess. It seems that these poor blokes have all just been mauled by a tyranny, as their faces are non-existent, and I don't know how they expect to defend themselves with guns that look like this. This guy is definitely my favourite, just look at that goatee. So you can see how completely pointless this feature is. But just to be sure, let's try another prompt. I want a pixel art goblin from the side. Here's one I drew, so this is the baseline. You can see this as well. This tool does a lot. It just says they're inappropriate and asks if I want to retry. But why show this in the first place? Just generate a new image instead. This is just a pointless step. Okay, so I can't even get 4 sprites out of this. And these are somehow even worse than before. So the AI knows that pixel art is a blocky, solid colored style, but it still generates the sprites at the same resolution, leading to this weird mess. And I don't even know what happened to this guy here. He just seems like a shy kid character. Nothing goblin about him as he looks over at something more interesting. Generating quote-unquote art from AI is one of the worst things that's come out of this whole mess and has absolutely zero value. There is nothing I can do with these sprites, and I can only assume that the datasets used to generate these were not provided in any sort of ethical way either. It's always funny to me when I see people praising how good AI-generated art looks nowadays, and how it's advancing, when they always look this bad. I don't get it at all. The next tool in Muse is the texture tool, which can be used to make materials for your environments. Once again, I have to install the package manually, and the interface is exactly the same as the sprite one. So I'll see what this thinks a brick wall with some moss looks like. Okay, so this is obviously better than the sprite generation. This is vaguely what I expected. But just like with every AI content, it has this weird smooth style that makes it all look a bit bad. And if you get up close to it, you can see it really doesn't have a clue about the details, only what it should look like from a distance. So what could you possibly use this for? Well, I guess it would be fine for a prototype, just as placeholders until you create the final assets. But when there's already so many free packs out there that are much higher quality, made by actual artists, this use case becomes irrelevant. Now, for the pre-release experimental features like animations. Humanoid animations are always something I struggle with, especially in Unity where you can't edit them. So if this tool was any good, it would be a great help. But I think I already know how this is going to go. I've got a classic Cinti Studios character here. This is not AI generated. You can tell that by the fact that it actually looks good. And supposedly, this tool could create animations easily. So let's see how it does. First, I'll create a walking loop for this guy. So like the others, just type the prompt in and generate. And the result is basically what I expected. Let me just try another one. Oh yeah, perfect. So it generates an animation clip like so. And I'll just add a controller to him, make him walk, and there he goes. So there's no root motion, so he's just going off on his own. And because of the way this clip loops, he's walking in a really weird arc. Once again, it's completely unusable. Now, let's have him shot and dying on the floor. See what that looks like. Okay, honestly, that's way better than I thought it would be, but there's some glaring issues with it. Like a few frames where it flickers randomly. Yeah, that's a natural movement, alright. So I've gone onto Mixamo to grab a completely free animation clip, and let's see how that compares. Once again, the AI tool loses to something that's already available. These AI tools don't need to be generating new clips like this. If instead they were just specific search engines that found and added clips in from pre-existing man-made work, they would be so much more useful. Okay, moving on from Unity's own tools now, let's look at a few third-party ones, starting with Scenario AI, a tool to generate art assets for your game. We saw how well Unity Muse did, so let's see if this fares any better. Scenario AI claims to help streamline development by generating images, enhancing resolutions, and training your own AI model to keep a style throughout. So once again, I'll start off by generating a sci-fi soldier holding 2 pistols with a soft, rounded style, wearing a blue and black outfit. There's a few settings here to adjust the style choice, anything you don't want to include, if you want to base it on a reference, and a few more for the sampling and guidance. So let's see what this gives me. Okay, here are the 2 images it generated, and right off the bat, while this may look way better than Unity's implementation, these look terrible to me. First things first, neither of them are actually accurate to the prompt because I asked for 2 pistols and neither of them have that. And if you take a closer look at them, you can see the mess that AI images come with random lines and blotches everywhere. I do like that the gunshot up here is coming from behind the gun instead of from the barrel, because that's how guns work in the future, I guess. Like I said before, as early concept art, this could potentially work, but that's as far as it goes. Right, let's try another style to see what they're like. So I'll go for the minimalist 3D props, and what I want from this is a nice looking axe. So scenario, I would like a legendary axe with gold trim, a heavy looking blade with worn down texturing, and an emerald embedded in the handle. And if I hit this prompt spark button, I assume this gives me extra ideas. Okay, so the top one just adds centering and a solid color background. That's helpful enough, but the rest of these are just completely different items altogether, so I don't really see how that's useful. Right, anyway. Here's a beautiful drawing I whipped up, so this is what I'm expecting to see. Okay, So both of the axes are the same shape and everything, but it's had two different cracks at the emerald idea. So I asked for it at the end of the handle. The first axe took that as the shading on the blade, which doesn't actually look too bad to be fair, but it's not what I asked for. The second one, well, it didn't really understand where it put the colors and it's just chucked it all over the place, except the end of the handle, which is pretty funny. I know for a fact that items like these generated by AI will end up in games as the icons or artwork, but I just can't see myself using these anywhere, even if they're nicer looking than something I can draw. Because like I said before, I can just find assets online that are better suited anyway. The next tool will be interesting to me. It's Meshy, a 3D model generator for those that can't figure out how Blender works. This works exactly the same as every other generator, with the prompt settings, some negatives, and an art style. How Meshy works is when you type in your prompt, it'll generate 4 drafts to give you a rough idea of what your model looks like. These drafts are very messy, and for some reason even this basic log cabin draft was 44,000 faces, which if you know modeling, you know that that is a ridiculous amount. But obviously, you don't use the drafts. Once you've selected a draft you're happy with, you click refine and it'll generate a final model based on that reference. This whole process took me about 10 minutes to generate, but I think if you get pro membership, it prioritizes your jobs. I didn't want to do this, even though there is a 3-day free trial, because it meant adding my payment method. And if I didn't cancel it, it would have charged me $192, so I wasn't risking it. Once I finally saw my refined result, I was completely blown away. So you saw the draft, it looks vaguely right, it just needs tidying up. So here is the refined version. I don't know what happened during this, but it took the low poly art style and went completely abstract. The colors and shapes are all over the place, and somehow this is still 456 vertices with 152 faces. So let's just take this into Blender and have a look at what it's created. Okay, so here it is imported. First things first, it's extremely small. Don't know if that was something I did when I imported it, but it all seemed fine. And if I go into edit mode, you can see the vertices are just all over the place. There's no cohesion or design, and really a lot of excess verts in here that aren't even adding any more detail. I'm getting tired of saying it, but I hope I've got my point across from here. If you need art assets for prototyping or even a final project, just go online and find ones made by real artists. One place I would highly recommend is Kenny.nl. Kenny creates amazing looking 2D and 3D art assets, and all of the assets are completely free under a Creative Commons license, and all they ask for in return is to consider a donation to ensure that they can continue to support the community with these packs. Have you ever wanted to write your own story but struggled to come up with anything? Well, luckily for you, AI Dungeon is a randomly generated AI storyteller capable of creating scenarios like a choose your own adventure. This is primarily used as a tool to write and play out these scenarios as is, but can also be used to craft ideas for a story for your video games. So I'm counting it as a game dev tool, alright? I've recently made a game about a taxi driver in the zombie apocalypse, and you might be seeing more of that game very soon, so subscribe so you don't miss that. Great plug, well done. The game doesn't really have a story, so let's get to writing a scenario. I'm going to pick the zombie category and write in a little prompt. For the notes, I'm going to make it witty and fun, nothing too dark, so I'm sure it won't write anything dark at all, will it? You can also add plot essentials, so my guy is named Greg and he likes nachos. Okay, that's all done, let's begin. So the first line is my prompt, and the highlighted text is what it came up with. As Greg, the zombie-killing taxi driver with a penchant for nachos, you weave your way through the city. If you didn't notice, it cleverly fit in all of the information I gave it in a single sentence by just repeating what I said. Great start. So already it's a bit too dark with the desolate streets and a shiver down my spine, but I'm sure it's just setting the scene. So after each prompt, you have some actions you can take. You can do something, say something, add to the story, see something, continue with the AI writer, or retry the prompt and let it generate a new story branch. So the first thing Greg is going to do is run over some zombies. The windshield splatters with zombie gore, but Greg's trusty taxi doesn't even flinch. Perfect. And it seems now we've got our first customer. If you follow along with the story, you'll see Greg loves to wink at this woman every chance he gets. Already the AI is making him creepy. So if I continue the story, it generates a new block. She wants to go to the safe zone by the old stadium, all while Greg nods, winks and smirks at her because the AI decided he's a proper creep. One thing I did find while making this story is the AI is really reluctant to do certain prompts. I tried to run the survivors down repeatedly, and it kept writing lines like the fact that I feel a sense of remorse of my actions, but Greg is a stone cold killer. The woman then got out of the car, turned around, spoke to him, and then suddenly screamed from the back seat again, because I guess it forgot she got out. It's funny as well that they seem to have conversations after the innocents were all killed, as if none of it happened. I then changed the big twist at the end to reveal that these weren't actually people at the camp, but clowns instead, and the AI cleverly wrote that line and then immediately went back to repeating the same sentences again. Finally, Greg pushes the woman out of the car for not paying the fare, and the AI writes a paragraph about how you feel regret again. I tried to kill off Greg, but then in the next sentence, he's alive again, because I guess it forgot who Greg was in this story, and sirens approach him from a distance. But wait, it's a zombie apocalypse, so emergency vehicles aren't running, so forget that whole siren bit. Greg dies again. The taxi comes to yet another stop, and the woman, somehow still here, gets up, and Greg, the twice dead man who just blew up in a taxi, cracks a joke to round it all off. Honestly, this has been my favorite AI tool to use. It's not good at telling stories, but the way it just messes up every prompt in a unique way is just so funny to me. This probably won't be the story of the game I'm working on, but who knows, maybe Greg will die multiple times without any issues. We'll just have to wait and see. The last tool I'm going to look at today is Replica Studios, a character voice generation tool to fill out your NPCs with some realistic voices. To get an idea of the quality that this tool produces, let's have a listen to some of the voices available in the voice library. So let's hear Deckard, the middle-aged man with a British accent, who is somehow furious and lighthearted.
I wonder what sound you'll make before you hit the ground. Think you'll hear it before you die.
We're about to be overrun! Fall back to the woods! The druids have our backs! Do you really think you are safe? I will find you, and when I do, I will tear you limb from limb. I will end you!
Okay, so first impressions, those clips sounded like three completely different people, and he's struggling to say certain words. But for a low-cost, janky game like those weird simulators, I can picture having characters sound exactly like that. Okay, so next, let's listen to Marvin Thunder. He's got a powerful name.
I just got kicked out of Walmart for not wearing any pants. Well, the joke's on them. I'll stole a bag of pretzels in my underpants. I'll eat those later. Bam! Someone give me a cool glass of Gatorade. These pretzels are making me thirsty. I said these pretzels are pretzeling up my mouth. Where's my drink at?
Okay, wow, why did that sound oddly racist? I'm just going to ignore the fact that for some reason he started to sound like a droid from the Clone Wars halfway through there.
Roger.
Not sure if that's what they were going for. And finally, let's try Pink Dragon to see what that sounds like.
Gee whiz. It looks like I drank a bit too much of the pink drink. I'm just gonna go take a nap now. Make yourself at home, but stay away from my pink drink.
Okay, now I wish I hadn't listened to that. Why is it so cursed? Are these the best takes they got of their voices or what? I feel like you could run it a few times to get something better. Anyway, let's try our own voice, and once again, let's give Greg a try. So you can blend different voices together to get a new one. So he's a middle-aged bloke with some cockney chucked in. The line is, "Alright my love, where you off to in this zombie apocalypse?" You could pick a few different styles, so let's give these a listen.
Alright, my love. Where you off to in this zombie apocalypse?
Well, listening to that, the bloke has never heard of the word apocalypse before. Maybe another style will get it.
Alright, my love. Where you off to in this zombie apocalypse?
Okay, same issues there. He hasn't got a clue. And unsurprisingly, none of these sound any good.
Alright, my love. Where you off to in this zombie apocalypse?
If I heard this in a game I was playing, I think I'd just refund it at that point, because clearly no effort went into making the thing. While once again, yes, you could use these for placeholder clips until you have proper recordings. At that point, just speak into a microphone yourself. This is worthless. So those are just some of the AI tools that you can use for game development, and they were so impressive that going forward, I'm going to be using absolutely none of them. This use of AI and buzzwordy technology to sell something that can never be new or unique is just sad to see. A huge part of game development, especially for indie games, is the ability to creatively express yourself as a person and put your own skills and personality into something. And all AI does is churn up a load of data and mash it into a recycled, uninspired end product. I don't want or need AI to help me make games faster or more efficiently, because then that's just taking away the main reason I make games in the first place. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate some of these tools for their effectiveness when it comes to initial planning or rough ideas, but you as a developer still need to know how to make a game. AI isn't the answer to all of our problems. It's simply the latest fad that companies try to sell to us. And the harder it gets for the average person to even notice when AI is used, the worse this problem will become. AI does have legitimate purposes, like analyzing viruses or protein folding research. But when it comes to creative industries, I would happily see it that the use of AI tools like these disappear overnight, especially those that cannot prove they own 100% of their training data. But anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed me ranting about AI for a bit. Leave a like down below and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.